Hi, I'm Jeff, and I don't believe in sugarcoating the truth. I believe in taking lies and burning them to the ground and then taking those ashes and fueling them up to the life that you really want to live. I started making content some time ago talking about primarily women who are living with alcoholics, who are living with heavy drinkers and other addicts. This isn't my business. This isn't something that I do for a living. I'm in a totally different line of work. It is a life that I lived in with my mom, with my family. I had a very abusive father who was a very violent alcoholic, drank a lot. You never knew what kind of mood he was going to be in when he came in. You didn't know if he was going to be happy, if he was going to be sad, if he was going to be pissed off, if he was just going to knock the shit out of you when you saw him. You just never knew. And my mom, oh my God, my mom, she was a trooper. She put up with his bullshit. She put up with his abuse for so many years. And I think she mainly did it because it was during a time where people said, you always stay with your husband. You know, the old Tammy Wynette song, stand by your man. She stood by him, and she stood by him in a big way. He eventually stopped drinking the last 10 years of his life, and things got good. But even after that, all the name calling, all the control that he had over her, that never quite went away. And even though he's been dead for 11 years and my mother's still alive, thank God, those voices are still there. And it's very difficult for her to get them out. And so I started talking about this, and it resonated so well with so many women around the country. I knew it was a problem, but after I started posting on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, I had no idea how big it was. And lots of the experiences that I have had, along with the things that I did to overcome that emotional damage, really seems to help and resonate with a lot of women. And I'm hoping that it resonates with you, and I hope that you can take the information that I give you and do something with it, because you can scroll through social media, you can read all the books, you can watch all the podcasts, you can do all of that. But until you actually start taking steps, nothing is going to change. Nothing, the needle is not going to move unless you do. All the reading, watching, talking, none of that works unless you put action to it. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, is putting action to what it is that you're doing. So what sparked this, a young lady who works for me, been with me a long time. She's been living with this guy for 4 years, and they're supposed to be getting married in Mexico. In fact, I got invited to be in her wedding. And she calls me, she's crying, she doesn't know what to do, she's sobbing. And I said, just tell me what the problem is. And she tells me, and I talk to this girl every week. I didn't know that there was any problem with her at all. And then she starts to tell me that for the last few years, this guy has been drinking a bottle of Tito's vodka every night. He gets mean, he gets violent. He has put bruises on her. He has put her in the hospital a number of times, killed their dog, knocks holes in the wall. And she is concerned whether or not she should marry him or not, because the wedding is paid for. She doesn't want it to be embarrassing to her family. She doesn't know what her friends are going to think. And I just simply say to her, it doesn't matter what your family or your friends think. They're not living in your life. They're not living in your skin. What they think is what they think. There's nothing, you can't control that, but you can control what you do. And if the alcohol is ruining his life, it is going to absolutely destroy yours. You are not marrying him. You're marrying a violent, and you need to get away from him as fast as you can. She did. And yeah, she did catch a lot of grief from her family about it. A lot of them, of course, didn't understand, but I thought it was a very interesting thing that even her parents were more concerned about losing the money on the wedding than they were their daughter's own well-being. I have 2 daughters, and I wouldn't care less about the money. I would always put their well-being paramount above and beyond any dollar amount. But I guess that makes me weird. Apparently, more people And that's the other thing that I really am surprised by is how much people either act or don't act. They're afraid of what these outside sources are going to think. That's something I never had a problem with. But my father was an immigrant. He was an alcoholic. He had a lot of pain in his life. Unfortunately, I never really knew what that pain was until after he died. I'm a big believer that most addicts are drinking because there is a pain that they're trying to cover up. There's an ache that they're trying to soothe. And I'm not here to talk about alcoholics. At the end of the day, everybody always congratulates the alcoholic for going 2 weeks or a month or even a year without drinking. They're all giving him the big attaboy, good for you, glad you stopped. But nobody speaks for the victims that they make life hell for. And that's why I'm here, to speak for the victims that they make life hell for, because everyone wants to talk about the alcoholic, but nobody is saying anything about their victims. And those victims are many. A lot of these people are actually suffering now more damage than the drunk ever suffered just because of the emotional damage that was laid onto them. And a lot of it was physical as well. And I will read the messages and have conversations with some of these women, and I'm wondering to myself, why would they stay? And a lot of people would think that they stay because of economic reasons, that they can't afford to live anywhere else. And I've found that not to be the case. Again, I think that the reason why a lot of these women stay is simply because they don't want to expose any of the emotional pain or the emotional shame and embarrassment that they think they're going to get from family, friends, and associates because they didn't live the perfect life. Let me let you in a little secret. Nobody lives a perfect life. The other thing that really surprised me in the content that I make is how many conversations that I have had online with these quote unquote Instagram models, these Instagram influencers or fitness models. I get a lot of those. And you see these women, they'll be in Miami posting at a club, they're posting on a yacht, they're holding a Chanel bag or a Louis Vuitton bag, they're drinking expensive champagne, riding in a Lamborghini, and it looks like they have the life. They don't have the life because even though they're showing that, the damage that they're suffering inside because of the guy that they're with and the guy who's probably paying for a lot of this stuff is telling them that they're worthless, that they'll never be anything without them. No one will ever love them. No one will ever support them. And you can make the argument all day that these women should have better self-esteem. They shouldn't be dependent on a guy. Well, I would agree with you on that, except for the fact that so many, especially these younger women, have just been so sucked in by all the fake culture, all the bullshit out there in social media, thinking that, yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. And for some of them, I guess it works, but I can tell you that from what I'm seeing as a result of the conversations that I'm having with people, that it's not really working out that well for a lot of these people. It's very sad. But at the end of the day, the emotional damage that they suffer is far greater than any other damage that they have. And talking about those emotions, how to deal with those emotions, how to not get emotional yourself, how to fight back in a non-threatening way. That is one of the many things on this podcast that we're going to be talking about. So I wanted to introduce myself, tell you where I'm coming from, what this podcast is going to be all about. You can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. My handle is at the real Jeff Wright. I'm looking forward to having these conversations with you on a weekly basis because it is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I really hate seeing how many people are so abused, how many of these people are suffering, and they don't really have to. They only think that they do. They can't see a way out. The shutters, the blinders have been put on their faces for so long that they don't know how to take them off. And a lot of them don't even know that they can take them off. But I'm here to tell you that you can make a change. And it all starts with a decision and an action that you make and not what somebody else makes. So many of these women are wanting closure from their husband or their boyfriend. That closure is not coming. If they're waiting for an apology, for most of these guys, it's a cold day in hell before that happens. The closure that they have to have is the closure that they have with themselves. They're going to have to make a decision. That's something they don't need. That's something that's never coming from them. And then they move on. Yes, it will be easier said than done. Keep in touch, because I'm going to talk a lot about how to communicate with these people in a non-threatening way, not to change their mind, because you don't have the power to change anyone's mind. No one does. But you can ask questions that can make them question their own reality and have them change their own mind. That's all you can do. You can't change anyone's mind. You can only ask questions to help them change their own. And so that's going to be some of the things we're talking about. This is the Ruthless to Win podcast. This is episode number 1. We're going to have some really cool guests on our show. We're going to have a lot of insight, a lot of conversation about how to deal with addicts. I want to have conversations with you, and who knows, if you're willing, I'd love to have you on here and have you share your story, because your story, nothing really happens until you start talking about it. Nothing really makes a move until you literally have a conversation with yourself and then have an open conversation with somebody that understands and someone that can help you. And we're going to talk about that too, because there's a lot of people you shouldn't have conversations with. There are lots of people out there that you think that are your friends, people that have your best interests at heart. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of those people are not your friends, and they're secretly rooting for you to lose, and they could probably back you and cause you a lot of trouble. We're going to get into all that and more in the upcoming episodes. Again, thank you so much for your time, your attention. Please subscribe and share this with someone that you know. Spread the word out, because this is something that I'm passionate about. My regular business is life insurance. It's the most boring thing in the world to do. Been doing it for 30 years. I'm not going to bore you with that, because for me, that's no passion. The passion is helping people live a better life without having an alcoholic in it. So stay tuned. Lots more to come.